Ever feel like your creative well has just completely run dry?
Right.
Like you've hit a wall?
Totally.
Well, today we are diving into the surprising connection between nature and creativity
Yeah.
to help you tap into this hidden reservoir of inspiration.
I love that.
We've got some fascinating research for you today,
Yeah.
and trust me, it's not just about pretty scenery.
No, it's definitely not just about pretty scenery.
Yay.
A lot of people think that, they go out in nature and it's like, oh, look, a tree.
Right, right.
But it's so much more than that. There's real science
Okay.
backing this up, that being in nature actually changes how our brains function,
Wow, okay.
which in turn, obviously, then impacts how we think
Mm-hmm.
and how we process all the information around us.
So it's not just anecdotal. This is like
No.
hard science.
Hard science. I read about this one study
Yeah.
where they sent people on, get this, a 4-day hike.
Not bad, right?
Not a bad gig, right?
Sign me up. But here's the thing. Those hikers, they came back and they had like significantly sharper creative thinking skills.
Right?
They were talking, like researchers were talking about like a 47% increase in their ability to like come up with these really unique solutions
Interesting.
in problem-solving tasks
Wow.
compared to the control group who, sadly were stuck in the city.
Yeah. Poor things.
Yeah.
Stuck in the office. Yeah. Pretty impressive. That is really impressive. And it all comes down to this concept called soft fascination.
Oh.
Have you ever, when you're walking through, like, even just a park,
Yeah.
and your mind just kind of starts to relax, it starts to wander,
Yeah.
but you're not bored.
Right.
You're just kind of like
Present.
present. Yeah. But you're also not overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, yeah.
That's soft fascination.
Yeah.
And that's what allows, essentially, your brain to finally be free to make new connections.
Interesting. So nature is kind of like a reset button
Exactly.
for our overworked brains.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, in today's world,
Oh, my gosh, yes.
our brains are going a mile a minute
Constantly.
all the time.
Yeah.
So we need that reset.
We need it so badly.
Mm.
And, just like different keys unlock different doors.
Oh, yeah.
Different types of natural environments, I think, seem to unlock different aspects of our creativity as well.
Okay.
How so?
Well, think about, like, the Romantic painters,
Okay.
for example. They were obsessed with these really vast, powerful landscapes, like huge mountains,
Oh, yeah.
big storms, seascapes, that kind of thing.
Like those dramatic Caspar David Friedrich paintings
Yes.
where you've got like these tiny figures and they're just dwarfed by this like immensity of nature.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
you'd almost feel the emotion,
Yeah,
that sense of awe.
Yes, and they were tapping into something real. Studies showed that mountains, open landscapes, they triggered the sense of awe and wonder.
Which actually allows our problems to feel smaller in comparison, which is, we could all use a little bit of that,
Like,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just about, like, finding a pretty view.
Right.
It's about finding the right landscape, the right natural environment
Yes.
that really resonates
Yes.
with the kind of creative energy that you're looking for.
Precisely.
Interesting.
Now, let's compare that, though, to, let's say, the Impressionists.
Okay, yeah.
Who, they found their muse in gardens, in parks, in sort of these everyday scenes.
Right.
And their work feels very different.
Yes.
It feels much more intimate, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
More about capturing, like, the subtle nuances of light and color.
I can see that. Like, it makes you want to step right into a Monet garden.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So you can just imagine yourself there.
Totally.
And we can't forget about water.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why so many artists and writers, they're just drawn to oceans and lakes and rivers.
Totally. There's just there's a very unique quality
Yes.
to being near water, isn't there?
Yeah.
The sound of waves, the way the light plays on the surface.
It's very calming.
It's very calming. It's like almost hypnotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really allows us, I think, to tap into that flow state,
Interesting.
which again is what we're all after when we're trying to be creative.
And it's that flow state, like, that's what we're really chasing, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of being totally, like, immersed and absorbed
Totally.
in that creative process.
Engrossed.
Yes. But what if you live in a city,
Right.
and you're miles from the nearest mountain or ocean?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're just, like, out of luck?
No, not at all. Actually, one of the sources that we were looking at highlighted this really, I thought, surprising amount of inspiration that you can find in urban green spaces.
Oh, okay.
So, even just a small park
Yeah.
or like a community garden. Even those small pockets of nature can still provide that dose.
It's interesting.
Oof, kind of nature that's needed
Yeah.
to help reset your mind.
So it's like hitting the reset button
Yes.
without having to like leave town necessarily.
Exactly, exactly. And think about what you see in those urban spaces too. I mean, you have natural elements
Yeah.
that are existing alongside these human-made structures, right?
Right.
And that juxtaposition, that contrast, can actually be incredibly stimulating
Interesting.
to the creative mind. You know, imagine like, I don't know, a vine that's winding its way up a brick wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a flower pushing through a crack in the pavement. It makes you see these like familiar things, but in a totally new light, you know?
It's like that saying, constraints breed creativity, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes those limitations can actually push us to think differently, to be more creative.
Totally.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, I mean, our sources highlighted some contemporary artists that are doing such amazing things
Yeah.
with nature. Have you ever heard of Olafur Eliasson? His work is incredible. He creates these large-scale installations that incorporate things like light and water, even weather patterns.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I was reading about this one installation where he created a giant indoor sun
Wow.
using just mist and colored lights.
Well, wow.
Can you imagine experiencing that?
That would be incredible.
It literally like felt like you were bathed in sunshine.
Wow.
Even though you were inside a museum.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Andy Goldsworthy, who creates those incredible sculptures
Yeah.
using only natural materials that he finds on site, like leaves, stones, ice, things like that.
It's amazing. And they're temporary too, right?
Yes.
Which I think adds another layer to the art itself.
Right, right. Because it's ephemeral.
Exactly, yeah.
Like it's there and then it's not.
Yeah. His work speaks to that, like, cyclical nature of things.
Yes.
You know, that constant process of creation and decay, which I think is actually kind of a good reminder for all of us.
Totally.
About, you know, the impermanence of, well, everything, really.
Everything, right? And in a way, I think that's kind of a good lesson
Yeah.
to be reminded of, right? Especially like in our world today where everything is so fast-paced.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. It's constant.
Constantly connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We need those reminders to just, like, slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about how nature can be this like amazing source of inspiration.
Right.
But what about like flipping it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
What about our responsibility to protect it?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Like to protect this thing that is giving us so much.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that, I mean, even our sources were mentioning this, like, there's this growing movement
Yeah.
of environmental art and activism
Oh, interesting.
where artists are using their creativity to raise awareness about things like climate change, pollution, you know, all of those big issues.
So it's not just about like painting a pretty landscape. It's about making a statement.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and it goes even deeper than that. Like, you know, some artists are even incorporating sustainable practices
Okay.
into how they create their work, their creative processes themselves.
So like thinking about the materials they use and, you know, minimizing waste.
Yes, exactly.
And maybe even like choosing to create digital art instead of physical art.
Yeah, to lessen the footprint.
Right.
Exactly.
To lessen their environmental impact.
And several of the sources highlighted artists who are using like recycled materials, natural dyes, and other eco-friendly practices.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's just a really good reminder that creativity and sustainability don't have to be at odds with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can be inspired by nature
Yeah.
and be mindful of its preservation
Totally.
at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Exactly.
And that kind of brings us back to that idea of mindfulness
Yeah.
that we touched on earlier. Yes. Being present. And not just mindfulness like when we're out in nature, but mindfulness in our creative process.
Yes, absolutely.
Mindfulness in our everyday lives.
Yes.
It's about being present, paying attention,
Yeah.
making conscious decisions.
Yes.
That really align with our values.
And that sense of mindfulness connects directly back to that soft fascination
Yes.
that we were talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Where we're open to inspiration,
Yeah.
but we're not overwhelmed by like all the noise.
It's like nature is a masterclass in mindfulness.
Yeah.
If we would all just slow down enough to notice.
100%. Yeah. You know, we've been like really diving deep into this idea of like nature as this like source of personal inspiration.
Yeah.
But one thing that I thought was really interesting in a lot of the research we looked at
Yeah.
was how it also highlighted like the social aspect of
Right.
connecting with nature.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like, it's a good point. Yeah,
Us as individuals
totally.
going out into the wilderness, right?
Right, exactly.
It's about us as like a community.
Think back to even just those urban green spaces we were just talking about.
Right. Yeah.
They're not just like these little pockets of nature, they
Yeah.
become like these vibrant community hubs
Right.
where people just naturally gather and interact and even inspire each other.
It's so true. Like, just think about like the conversations that spark up on a hiking trail
Yes.
or like during a community garden workday.
Oh, totally.
That shared experience can be like so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our sources even mention things like group art installations and nature-based workshops.
Oh, wow.
Even artists who gather for like open air sketching sessions, where they all go out together.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a very unique synergy that occurs
Yeah.
when we create alongside others
Right.
who are also drawn to that energy of nature.
Yeah, it's like there's like that feeling of shared inspiration.
Yeah.
That like I see what you see kind of thing.
Right.
And it deepens the whole creative experience, I think.
It does. And even if you're not like directly collaborating on a project together,
Yeah.
just being around other creatives
Right.
who also like find solace and inspiration in nature can be so motivating.
Totally. It's encouraging, right?
It is. Yeah. It reminds us that we're like part of something larger than ourselves.
Right.
This whole community of people
Yes.
who are finding that creative fuel in the natural world.
Yeah, and the best part is like you don't have to be a professional artist
No.
or writer to tap into this.
No, not at all.
Like anyone can
Yeah.
connect with nature and experience these benefits.
Totally. Whether you're, jotting down thoughts in a nature journal or
Right.
arranging like found objects into a temporary sculpture,
Yes.
or even just, take a mindful walk and letting your mind wander. I mean, these are really simple acts, but they can spark creativity in any area of your life.
Totally. I love it's like it's really just about bringing that sense of wonder and curiosity
Yes.
through everything we do.
Everything.
And you know what? Sometimes it's like, we think about going out into nature.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like literally just bringing a little bit of nature indoors
Yes.
can make a world of difference.
Totally. Yeah. And several sources talked about, the benefits of houseplants and
Yes.
natural decor.
Yes.
Even just using like color palettes that are inspired by nature in your workspace.
Right.
These might seem like really small, insignificant things,
Yeah.
but they can really impact,
Your environment.
yes, your mood, your creativity. Absolutely.
Totally. It's about making that space feel connected, I think.
Yes.
To the natural world, even if you are spending, most of your time inside.
Right. It's giving you those subtle cues, those little reminders.
Yes, exactly.
Of the beauty and the tranquility that exists outside of, our walls.
Right, exactly. And, I find that even like for me, I know like when my desk is near a window and I can see trees like out the window, I feel like so much more creative than when I'm like, in a basement office or something.
Right. Totally.
So as we kind of like wrap up this deep dive today, I think the takeaway is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're an artist or a writer or just a human living in the world today, like if you are trying to overcome a creative block or you are seeking fresh inspiration,
Yes.
or you're simply looking to like live a more mindful and connected life, nature is calling.
It is. It is.
Right.
And it's not just calling out to us to receive its gifts.
Right.
It's also calling on us to protect and preserve the very thing that gives us so much in return.
Beautifully said. I think that is the perfect thought to like leave our listeners with today. We've explored a lot about how nature can inspire us, but how will you use your own unique creative energy to give back? I love that. To the natural world. Something to think about, maybe on your next nature walk.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those deep dives going.
Yes. Love it.